Deep within an ancient forest, where sunlight slipped only in fragile beams through thick canopies, lived a community of creatures bound by the silent laws of nature. Among them was a young wild dog named Kael. Unlike most wild dogs who relied on wit and cunning to survive, Kael carried within him a different belief, that true strength lies in integrity, not deceit. That forest had long been divided by invisible borders. Tigers ruled the deep woods, deer grazed the open fields, owls preserved wisdom in the tall pines, and wild dogs, the wanderers, were often scorned. They were branded tricksters, creatures no one could trust. Kael was weary of that title. He wanted to prove that a truthful heart could still be respected in a world full of suspicion. One radiant autumn morning, as the leaves turned to shades of copper and crimson, Kael heard two magpies talking atop a tree branch. They spoke of a spring of wisdom hidden deep in the forest, a source said to grant boundless vitality to anyone who found it. But the spring came with a warning. Only those who walk in truth will ever reach it. Kael's heartbeat quickened. He didn't crave power, he craved a chance to change how the world saw his kind. The next day, his journey began, and almost immediately he faced a test. A small squirrel dashed across the path, clutching acorns it had stolen from a woodpecker's tree. "Please, don't tell anyone. I'll share them with you." Kael's stomach rumbled, but he said softly, "No, the truth belongs to the forest, not to me." He brought the squirrel back and explained what had happened. At first, the woodpecker was angry, but when Kael explained that the squirrel acted out of hunger, not malice, it forgave. The squirrel lowered its head, grateful yet ashamed. From that day, Kael walked with lighter steps. Days turned into nights, and many temptations came his way. A snake whispered of shortcuts if Kael would only hide his lies. A raven offered shining gems if he'd help conceal its theft. Each time, temptation clawed at him, but each time he remembered the warning: those who do not walk in truth will wander forever in darkness. Slowly, Kael's name began to spread. The birds started to trust him. The deer grazed closer to where he roamed. The old owls said Kael carried wisdom beyond his years. Even the proud tigers nodded as he passed. But not everyone admired his path. An old wild dog named Rogan, who lived by deceit, saw Kael as a traitor. One night, under the silver moonlight, Rogan confronted him. "You think the forest will remember you?" he growled. "Truth won't fill an empty belly." Kael smiled gently. "Perhaps, but deceit empties the soul." Rogan scoffed and walked away, but his words lingered in Kael's mind. That winter was brutal. Snow fell thick. Food ran out. One night, Kael stumbled upon a hollow tree full of dried berries. He could have eaten them, no one would know, but as he reached out, he whispered to himself, "They are not mine." He turned away and left. The next morning, Kael met an old tortoise trudging through the snow, his shell covered in frost. "I've heard of a spring in this forest, but my eyes are dim. Do you know the way?" Kael replied honestly, "I don't, but I'm searching for it too. Walk with me. Perhaps truth will guide us both." They traveled together for many days. The tortoise often asked profound questions. "Do you ever regret being honest? Do you feel lonely among those who lie?" Kael thought deeply and said, "Yes, but even if I could choose again, I'd still tell the truth. Lies might help us survive, but only truth earns respect." One morning, as the first rays of spring pierced through the melting frost, the tortoise stopped and smiled. "You have arrived." Kael looked around. There was no spring, only morning light reflecting off the dewdrops. The tortoise said, "The spring is not water, but the path you have walked. Integrity is the source of life. It may not make you immortal, but it makes you truly alive." Kael stood silently. He realized that every hunger endured, every temptation resisted, had not only transformed him, but the forest itself. The creatures now called him Kael the Truthful. His name carried not fear, but faith. Years later, when Rogan had grown old and frail, he came to Kael's den. "Maybe you were right," he whispered. "Truth doesn't make us weak. It makes us forgiven." Kael smiled softly. "No one is born with integrity. We simply reach a point where we choose the harder road." That spring, the forest flourished. Deer, birds, tigers, and bears shared food and guarded one another. And at the heart of it all stood Kael, the wild dog who chose honesty over hunger, truth over comfort. He finally understood that integrity isn't about being praised, it's about being whole. Because sometimes the greatest reward for honesty isn't what we gain, but who we become.